Hey everybody, welcome back to Design in the Dark. My name's Andrew Hochradel, and today our guest is Micah. Uh,
What?
Micah.
Hello?
Oh, hey, what's up? Who
Hey,
who are you?
I'm Gary. Who are
Oh,
you? How did you call my computer?
I was trying to get a hold of Micah. We were doing a stream
Oh,
called Design in the Dark.
Design in the Dark. Okay, yeah, he's over there. I can get him for you.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Hey,
be great.
hey,
Cool.
Micah! Some man named Andrew is here. Needs you for something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, here he comes.
All right,
Sorry
cool.
about
Thanks.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. And while he comes in, hey chat, welcome to the stream. Look at all these people. Some familiar faces. Alex is here. Jillian, Sam, Ariana. Nice to see you all. Oh, there he is. Hey,
Oh,
Micah, what's
hey.
up?
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Sorry, yeah, I guess I called the wrong number, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're here now.
No worries. So wait, what is this again?
Yeah, so this is a show called Design in the Dark. And what we
Right.
do is we are going to have you designing live today. And chat, I need your help today to. What are we doing today, actually, Micah? What's the product that we're going to be making?
Looks like we're doing some merch.
Yeah, that's right. So we are going to
Yeah.
be creating a merch line, and chat, you get to be our art directors. You get to be the client, and you get to fill in all of the blanks to our amazing Mad Lib as we create today. So how the show is going to work is I will be showing you a brief with a bunch of words missing, and I will ask for your suggestions. So let's warm up those fingers. Get ready to type in the chat because we need your help. So, and Alexander says, I don't trust this dude. He lives with a puppet. Yeah, I mean, we all need to have roommates right now. So, Micah, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, before we hop into putting you through the ringer. Who are you? What do you do? What's your deal?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Micah Lanier. I'm a designer and illustrator. I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a designer at Clay Design, doing a lot of product and illustration work, and been really into branding and illustration work personally for a long time, and really excited to see what we can cook up.
Yeah, I'm very excited. On the screen, we have Micah's Instagram if you guys want to go follow. It is just Micah Lanier, I believe, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
Got it. Yes.
that's it.
And your design style is probably in like this kind of zone of flat design. How would you describe this?
Yeah, I think I've always been really attracted to figuring out how simple I can make something look and just removing details, but still getting the idea across.
I love that.
I
it's
tend to
more
get
about-
really caught up in details too much, so just want to see how much I can remove and still get the idea across.
I love that process, that it's more about editing than it is like doing that creating. And so I'm interested to see that in action today as we work through. And I have to highlight your website because you have one of the greatest things I've ever seen is your switch between light mode and dark mode. Also puts on sunglasses just so you get that extra little spice. So if you guys want to check that out, see some more projects from him, it is just michaellinear.webflow.io if you guys want to check that out, and just click this button back and forth because it's so much fun. Oh yes, studiomicah.com as well. Look at the amount of websites that you're on.
What am I doing?
I know, out of control. All right, so let's hop in chat. It is time. It is your time to shine because I need some words for you. Let's go ahead and hop in and look at my screen for just a second and talk about what we are doing. So today I'm going to read through our entire brief, Micah, and just get your mind flowing and open because chat, we are going to be asking right away, I need the name of something. I'm going to read through the brief and keep in mind this is going to be the name of our company. So start thinking about that, type some suggestions into chat as I read through our brief. Name is launching a new line of merch. They are the leader in the convenience kind of industry. So what I'm thinking here is maybe fast food, maybe like a grocery store, maybe a gas station, something a little unconventional. I think that would be really fun. And they have a cult following. The new line needs to include a color theme of 4 colors and should be in a certain design style. We want it to feel adjective and adjective while targeting a certain demographic. The merch must feature their signature product in at least one application. Also, we'd love to see it on specific kinds of merch. So let's go ahead and start putting in some suggestions for the name of our company and then maybe what kind of company they are. We're looking for kind of a convenience zone. And Micah, where are we starting today? Where are we going to be working?
So yeah, we're going to be starting in Illustrator, and then we'll also be switching back and forth to Photoshop to make some mock-ups of what this convenience store brand might look like in context.
Yes, and so chat, I need some names from you. Keep dropping those in chat. Oh, that is such a good name, and I'm totally into this.
Okay.
Aquafox. So aqua
Fox.
and fox. So we're going to go with the name Aquafox, chat, and I'm updating the brief there on the screen so that you can see it. And what does Aquafox do? What kind of convenience are they? What are something that maybe, right, that it would be like this hype line of crazy merch that you'd never think? Ooh, some suggestions coming in. We have a popcorn supplier. We have a bakery. Aquafox. Let's do maybe one or two more suggestions and we can pick from those, chat. What does Aquafox do? And you'll definitely see me updating live our nice little brief on the screen there if you ever need a recap of where we are and where we're going. So let's get that updated. And ooh, that's actually a really fun idea. Ariana makes a suggestion that they make vending machines. I love that. So Aquafox is going to be a vending machine company that is looking for a new line of hot merch. It's
I love that they have a cult following too.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah. People like
they're the hot thing in vending machines.
Yes. People are walking around hotels like, oh my gosh, it's an Aquafox. All right, so let's go ahead and hop in, start playing around with some ideas based on those in chat. We can start getting some more suggestions for you as our friend Micah is getting started. Micah, with a suggestion, we have the name Aquafox. They are making the cult following of vending machines. Where's your brain starting in your process?
Yeah, so first thing, I am just making a list of what this is. So I am pulling in just the name first, like Aquafox. I'm pulling in vending machines and I'll go from there. So Aquafox.
Yes, and Alexander says, I can hear them saying, hey, they have an Aquafox here. Do you want me to like grab anything? It's perfect. Good work, chat.
And vending machines. Okay.
Cool. We will be going through those briefs a whole lot during this stream, so make sure you stick around, chat, and that is exactly what I want you to do. Just drop in all those suggestions, and we will continue on there. All right, so we have Aquafox, we have vending machines. Where's your brain going, Micah?
Yeah, so first now I'm like, okay, what is some imagery that this coming to mind? I think of like Aquafox, I mean, water, foxes. I'm thinking of like, what are parts in vending machines? Like the spirals that like push the food out.
Yep.
Is it thinking of like the coin insert or
oh yeah.
Thinking of some colors, obviously.
Yes.
Thinking of some more like cooler. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Like foxes tend to be like, when you think foxes, it's like orange and white. It's like warmer colors. But
yeah. So
also playing with cooler colors.
Someone in chat, Samuel Hauser, suggested maybe that we do a blue and an orange. And our friend Jillian has actually put in a hex code. So I'm going to pull that up and see what kind of color we've got going there.
Specific.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. So let's do a couple. So let's do some kind of blue and orange. And then I have a hex code for you if you want to pull that up and make a swatch. So it is C7 9479. Oh, hold on. We'll wait till you get there.
Yeah.
You can just double click on the fill over the black fill in the panel on the left. Yep, there you go.
So what is it again?
It is C79479. It's kind of like a nice little soft And then maybe we do some kind of orange and blue on there as well.
Let's see. Let's just start here and start like going around some of these.
Yes, and it could be one of those Japanese vending machine brands. I hear they have a ton of following over there and sell all kinds of things. Yeah, maybe it doesn't sell just regular snacks. Maybe there's some crazy stuff in there.
Yeah, it could be like video game consoles or like cheeseburgers or something. Who knows?
That's true. Actually, let's do this because in our brief, part of the brief is that we want to feature their signature product. What is the signature product that you would get out of an Aquafox vending machine? Chat, let us know what that signature product is. And maybe, Micah, that's where we can start with some kind of illustration, is figuring out how to represent that signature product.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, chat. Hit me up with what their signature product is. And Micah, do you start with looking at type? Do you start with colors? What's your usual starting point as you start working through?
Most of the time for me, I usually start with, honestly, with colors.
Yep.
And that starts to like really just give like more life to it, in my opinion, especially with just with illustrations. So, and I tend to lean towards more like poppy, like very contrasty types of palettes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've got a suggestion. We've got some great suggestions here. We have cupcakes shaped like cheeseburgers. We have lava lamps, travel-sized board games, faux water, games and pizzas. I think that it would be really funny if it was lava lamps. I think I like the idea of having a vending machine that only sells lava lamps feels right to me, and I feel like Aquafox, like in my brain, is like, yeah, that could be a lava lamp vending machine.
Cool.
Y'all are out of control, by the way, chat. It usually takes you a little while to get spicy, and boy, did chat get spicy right away. So we are working with Aquafox vending machines, and they make lava lamps.
Lava lamps. All right.
All right, so we're pulling through colors, kind of getting a story together. And what are you looking for in colors? Is it just like feeling? Is it like the vibe? Is it the energy? What kind of inspires you in that?
I think for me, it's more about just energy. Like I, again, lean towards more like contrasty palettes, wanting to find something that really catches the eye. And especially like I usually work in simpler styles. So there's not a lot of detail. So how can I make as much impact as I can with as few like shapes or colors as I can?
Yep.
So that's usually where I start. Yeah.
Yes. Sweet. So we've got some nice hot colors coming through here. And in your brain, is this knowing that we're doing some kind of lava lamp, knowing the name, are you applying these colors in your brain to like where you're going to go with illustration? Or is it right now just about the colors?
I'm starting to think about illustration now. So for me, thinking about lava lamps, I'm thinking about like, there's usually a darker, hotter color, a more like vibrant color, but then there's like little details of like the lava or the bubbles or however the lava lamps work. There's usually like an off, slightly different value that plays around with that like vibrant color. So I'm trying to think about that.
Yeah, and I've noticed it in a lot of your work, and I'm going to throw it up on my screen real quick, a little side by side, is that you work really, really well with doing highlight and shadow on kind of this flat design zone. And is that kind of what's happening in your brain with the colors right now, that you're thinking, okay, I know that the lava lamp is like lit from the bottom, so maybe it's lighter, and then I need something for a shadow. Is that how you're kind of picking these colors?
Yeah. So I usually always have a really dark value. So let's go with this guy for like a dark, and let's add in some like blue there just to give it some like a little bit more color. So usually have something to represent a shadow that will be really, really stark, and then kind of go the opposite direction. Like, okay, what do I want like highlights to be? So I want something like this, and then I want something to contrast that. So I am going to bring this guy down, that hex. Let's bring that guy. That's kind of interesting. And then, so let's at these guys. Let's see. So let's go this guy, then lighten it up a little bit. See what that does. Let's get pull it down this way.
I love the process of just kind of vibing. And we talk about this every time on the show, is that we'll see people, we'll talk about like their process and how it flows. And there's always a zone like right now that we kind of just vibe and roll along. And we have about 45 minutes left in the show, so we have a bit of time. And I love that right now we're kind of like, oh my gosh, there's no way we're getting everywhere. We're still doing colors. There's not enough time. But it always is following that process. To you, is that process something that you've kind of refined and you're just like, cool, we're gonna hit step by step. I'm not freaking out. Like I know where we're going, or is it like, oh my gosh, we're mad scramble?
No, not freaking out. I think just over time, just knowing that I will get there eventually. A lot of my process is I'll play for a long time and then all of a sudden it clicks. And just, I've done this for so long and I've just known that that's just the way it usually works for me. That it's fine. So even like right now, feeling good.
Yes, and I love that dark gray. Chat loves the dark gray, that it's kind of that almost black. It almost looks like it has a little bit of blue. Like it's just such an interesting dark contrast.
Yeah, has a little bit of blue in there for just add a little bit of like coolness to it.
And so working here, this is an interesting workflow. You're working on different artboards kind of as you go step by step on your process?
I do, yeah. So I normally make a few artboards and I kind of break up the process in chunks. And so the first artboard, that was just like a really light, like, okay, let me get my head around this. Let me play around with some colors and just go from there. And then now I move to the next one and I'll start to just play around with some like early like ideas for like illustration based off of that color palette.
Yep, and thinking with simple shapes, how do I take something that is fairly complex in the real world and distill it down into these simple shapes and almost like abstract things into where you want them to imply a shape or something?
Yep, totally.
The working on artboards workflow is so interesting to me because it makes so much sense to be able to track through what you've actually done and then go back and see ideas that like may not have made it, that aren't just everywhere. They're on like certain artboards. I love that.
Yeah, and for me, like at first starting off, like I was so scatterbrained, and I tend to still be scatterbrained, that this is just one thing that helps me keep track of where things are. So if I know that I'm looking for something that was early on in the process, it's probably over here.
Yes.
So that is just a little trick for me. It works, and I've seen people do lots of other things, but that's the way I do it.
Yep.
So.
And so as Micah keeps working on this, some people in chat are asking, how do you set up multiple artboards? How do we know what size to work on? Well, check this out. We'll go 2 up on the screen so you guys can watch him as well. But on my screen, you'll see that what I've done is just clicked to open a new document in Adobe Illustrator. And with my artboards right here, you can set the size right here. And then you can come in and you can actually just click the up arrow and it will make those artboards for you. I usually work, if we're working on something digital, 1920 by 1080 pixels is the standard screen size. If you're working for print, 8.5 by 11 inches is a standard as well. And you can kind of just pick whatever size. It depends on the project, Sam, for what you want the actual size of your artboard to be. But starting with a 1920 by 1080 usually gets me to where I'm going to be going, and it allows me to have those assets and kind of work around with them as I go. Do you have a set template for this, or do you just set up the artboards every time that you start going through, Micah?
I do not have a template, but that would be great. I normally just default to like 4 or 5.
Yep.
Just knowing like the process I normally take. And if I need more, I can always make more.
Yep. And I love that you're just putting together these shapes, right? That we're like, oh man, he's created this like cool lava lamp. Like he's using the pen tool for all these like anchor points and making it specific and precise. And it's like, they're literally like, this is the sketch phase. And there are a bunch of like squares and rectangles. And it's just augmenting those little areas, those little edges to kind of give it a new life.
Yeah. So I normally just start off just like super simple. And a lot of the time, man, it is so easy in this very early phase to, when things start to feel like it's not getting anywhere, to just stop.
Yep.
And a lot of the time, if I just spend just an extra few minutes on it and just make a few tweaks, it starts to really feel alive. So I've just kind of learned over time to not give up if I feel like something is almost there.
Yep.
So
would you say that this is your sketch phase right now when you're kind of just getting ideas out on this artboard?
a little bit, yes. So I'll usually start here, just really, really bare bones.
Yep.
And just play around with like, okay, that looks kind of cool. What if I like rotated it, but like added it over this like shadow or something and let it like meld in there? Like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, so I'll always make copies.
Yep.
And play around with like, okay, cool, that one's orange. Like, what if this one is this like hot blue color we've got over here? Like, see what that feels like.
Yes. Ooh, cool. Okay, this color scheme is so good already, chat. Are we on board with this color scheme? I think the contrast between those two is awesome. And if you're just joining us, hello. A nice little group of you all joined us. If you were watching on YouTube, you're in the wrong place. Coming out with us over on Behance, behance.net/live. That's the place to be where we're all talking and hanging out. So come join that. And as a little catch up, this is a show called Design in the Dark. We are filling in this Mad Lib and designing some merch live. We have no idea what we're doing because chat, you are making the suggestion. So today, so far, what we have is Aquafox is launching a new line of merch. They're the leader in the vending machine Illustrator with a cult following. The new line needs to include the color theme of blues and oranges and should be in a flat design style. We want it to feel blank and blank while targeting a blank demographic. We also want to make sure that we see it on a certain kind of merch, and we want to feature their signature product, lava lamps. So working on some merch for a lava lamp vending machine company, chat. And we will be getting some of those adjectives and some more direction as we start to work into a little bit more of the actual merch applications and getting more specific there. But right now, we're still exploring, Micah. Where are we?
See, I'm feeling good about this initial direction. I think there is enough to play with here. And so I'm just playing around with some just like different like, you know, compositions, seeing what this might feel like, but I'm starting to feel good about this initial direction for sure.
Yep, and I think that the like tilt gives it some kind of direction, and to me, we're talking about, right, like relating it to things and having a real cell, at least a visual communication. To me, the tilt like feels like it's making that tilt off of the vending machine, right? That like the product always has that like tilt before it goes down. It feels like it just has that motion that it's like, oh crap, I gotta catch it. Like it's a glass container falling out of.
That's a really good point. Yeah, they're indestructible. It doesn't matter how they come out; they just will.
Yes, yeah, they're like plastic lava lamps, which feels very dangerous.
Plastic lava lamps. I'm sure those would melt.
That would melt so quick.
Yeah.
I said it and I was like, no, this probably catch on fire. That's a bad idea.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm feeling good about this. I'm just messing around with just some different like options of like how would this feel with some like variations of those colors, but overall I'm feeling good.
Yep, and keeping it in your style that is very flat, but I love that we're already starting to explore the idea of dimension by using those lighter, darker colors, having like that subtle shadow or darkness, that now instead of being this flat lava lamp, it's become something that's like, oh, you can like see through it a little bit, and there are some that are further away and some that are closer in here, and it instead makes that, you know, rectangle that's there start to feel like it's cylindrical a little bit.
Yep, for sure. And normally this is where I'll start to play around with like, okay, do these colors feel good? I think they do. I'll normally start to add like just some like rough, like quick little details just to see. In details, I might be careful with using that word.
Yes.
But they're details to me. Very simple, but
and is
just wondering
this...
if like,
sorry, go ahead.
There we go. Like if I want to like push it a little bit, does this still work? So
I love that it's very loose and kind of experimental as we're going, and we can see like even some of the lines are like, oh, this is kind of just tossed in there, like it's not snapping completely, like it's just like a little bit off. It's whatever. You just completely don't worry about that in this stage, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's fine. Like none of this is lining up. That's okay. This is just to get my head around the initial idea and see if I think it works. And if it does, then I'll move over to another artboard and we'll start to refine a lot of this. So
That's so cool. And it's
yeah.
great that it kind of gives you permission and no pressure, because you know like what each artboard is for. So it's not like, okay, we have to like rush to get to whatever the final product is. It's like, cool, on this artboard, just want to make sure that like the lighting works, the colors work. All right, cool. We like sign off this artboard, moving on to the next one. The next one's more refined, and kind of just working your way through that. It's such an interesting process. I love that.
For sure. Okay, I think I'm good with this.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna move over, grab some stuff I think is cool.
And that's chat. That's one of my favorite things about watching content here in Adobe Live, is being able to see other creatives and their process and then take it away and apply it to mine. And so I love stuff like this that I've never thought about working on artboards to just have a record of things. I'm total chaos. I'm off the artboard. I literally draw a line and just banish my bad ideas outside of the line. And so this is so much more organized and such a great idea. And I'm totally going to incorporate this into my workflow. Thank you, Micah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, and Alexander says you killed that edge highlight. Agreed. The little lighting details were looking really cool.
Yeah, and because I didn't delete them, I could have, or at least the edge highlight, I actually did delete that one. But the whole point is I'm not deleting anything. I can always come back and like, oh yeah, actually that idea was a fun thing to do. So
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. And there's so many times that you start working on something and forget a cool thing that you did, and then you go, and this allows you to go back and be like, oh, I was gonna do that thing that I forgot.
Right. Yep. All right. So I got this guy. I've got him as like reference, and I'm gonna start to like tighten this up and see where this goes.
Yes.
So let's see. I'm gonna ungroup this guy.
And yes, thank you, Sam. If you do want to check out Micah on Instagram, instagram.com/Micah Lanier. And the website is there, micalanier.webflow.io, that has a really great transition between its light and dark mode. Features the cool side of Micah.
The cool side, yeah. Okay,
Micah after hours.
All right, so I'm gonna try and rebuild this, even though it is really, really simple. There are parts in it that I'm like, okay, that's not even, that's not symmetrical. I'm gonna try and rebuild this.
Yeah, and it feels like I like to kind of relate it to the idea of like an architect versus a construction worker, right? That you've gone through the architect phase. That's like, cool, I'm gonna lay out the plans. I'm gonna get everything in a zone where I'm like, yep, this is the sketch and the layout and, you know, blueprint of what I want to do. And now you're moving into that production zone where you're like, I'm not really having to think about the idea. I'm just trying to make the application, which I think is interesting to watch.
Yep, for sure. And even though this might look almost, identical to what I just did over here, I really want it to be tight and in line with itself. And so I'm pretty much reusing the same shape every time. And that's just cutting down on me having to recreate the same shape.
Yep, and allows it to be consistent so that it has some kind of like visually, even if we're not relating that, being able to have something that's saying like, hey, look at this is familiar to you. It's something that feels like it's composed because it is those angles, those shapes all kind of working their way through.
Yep, 100%. And like, so right now I'm like, okay, that angle feels really weird. I'm going to tweak this.
And we have about 25 minutes left or so. as we go through. So just update for you, because I literally will forget, and then I'm like, we have 3 minutes. Good luck.
Okay.
So we have about 25 minutes, and I think what we're going to do today, chat, is we'll work on creating some of these ideas for the merch, kind of some illustration stuff, and then maybe tomorrow we'll move into applying it to doing some mock-ups, jump over into Photoshop, and show you how you can take the ideas that you have for a merch line like this and start to apply them. Sweet. And Gianni, yes, I'm learning. I'm taking a graphic design course, and I'm learning more from you guys than my course. That's why this is great. Adobe is live every day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. With
awesome.
Great content and things for you to learn. So right now in your brain, we didn't have this there at the beginning. And it looks like now you're starting to think less about the shapes and more about the like dimension, that you're starting to take one more step into creating something that looks real.
Yep. So again, as I was doing this, I was like, oh, hey, this might be cool. So now that I've got that shape locked down, I want to try some additional like playing around really quick just to see like what would happen. And yeah, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So yeah, let's see.
I love that because it kind of gives you a reference for the light if you're going to do anything else. Like having something down there is like, cool, here's a reference for where shadow or light's coming from, and that informs the rest. So it doesn't kind of become this like, oh man, I have to keep guessing on where light's coming from. I'm relating a physical object to know where to do that shading.
Yes. Yeah. So let's see, I'm just going to cut this guy, make him up into pieces, and get rid of this guy. I don't want that.
Bye.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it gives it really great dimension.
Yeah. And so I might keep that. Let's keep that guy. And then I might add like, I think I like the idea of like one of these being off the edge.
Yep, to give it that kind of like, that it's hitting that dimension, maybe there's more outside kind of thing.
Yeah, seeing what that feels like.
I love seeing, one, the screen in your actual process, and two, being able to see your face as you design, because I do the same thing, and somehow a design looks different between here and here. Like that's the check. Sure. Is like, but this like half-foot distance is like, all right, is it good? Yeah, it's good. It's like you're like mid sneeze before you decide.
It's definitely part of the process. Like it is for sure vital that I make as many faces as I can.
Yes. It's chat. Do you guys ever make faces as you work? When I get into working on detail work in Illustrator, my lips get so chapped because I'll be sitting there with my tongue out. I'll work like, and like be sitting like biting my tongue a little bit over my lip. And then I'll realize that I've literally just been holding my tongue on my lip for like an hour. And I'm like, my lips are falling apart.
Let's see. All right, cool. Now let's group this guy and give him a little tilt. And I'm just eyeballing this and see what feels right.
That's the way to do it sometimes, is it's about, we have the rule of thirds and the compositions and whatever, but sometimes it's just, I just need it to feel right. I don't need it to be technically whatever. I just need it to kind of feel right.
A lot of times I'll hold down shift whenever I'm rotating things to always land on like 45 degrees or 90 degrees or whatever. And a lot of times that's great. It's perfect for what I need. But then a lot of times, nope. I need to be really just let it be what I think it needs to feel like.
Yeah, and it's not like we're just making a lava lamp, right? We can do an illustration of a lava lamp. We're trying to tell a story with it as well. And so having that tilt at something that's kind of a random degree gives it a little bit of motion. It's telling us that it's falling. And it's those little things that it's just kind of giving the vibe is the best way to describe it, is just changing little details, rotation, orientation of where it is to other objects, the colors, the shading, that help us to get that vibe and tell the story. Ooh, tiny little lava lamp.
A lot of times I'll shrink stuff down just to see if I can still make it out.
Yep, which is part of your style, is that kind of very refined, kind of flat design. And I love that you're thinking about, if I make it super small, does it still work? Because I think that that plays to that you've edited it back to not being too much.
Yep. And just depending on like, oh, this looks great on a t-shirt at a certain size, but what if they want it like as a little bitty sticker or something like that?
Yep.
Does it still come across? So that's something I like to do, just to, because sometimes it does not work out. I'm like, oh, maybe I should tweak this or that to make it feel better. Cool. Yeah, I'm liking that.
It's a vibe.
Sweet.
And I actually love that there is room to play with like merch ideas for a line, right? I see this having like that polka dot pattern on like a blue shirt. And it's like cool, right? Like cool little crop ins. There's like a little embroidered pocket, whatever, that's just the outline of the little thing. That's really fun. And yes, Ariana says, I would love this as an enamel pin. That is pretty cool.
Ooh, yeah, for sure. I could see that. And so I'm actually gonna play around and see like, hey, does this still work with our other colors?
Yes, and I love the kind of energy that just happened there, and that's why I love watching the process as we work through on this show of, oh man, Chad has this cool idea that inspires this other conversation, that then we get excited and then we move into like, okay, cool, let's try some more stuff, let's see where it goes. And a lot of times we get stuck in our brain in, you know, our process. Has that ever happened to you where you're like, I've spent an hour doing a thing that should have taken me 3 minutes? What's that like for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I do that all the time, and that's just part of the process. I mean, like sometimes I can't get it out of my head until I go as far as I can take it and absolutely see like, well, that didn't work. That took me way too long, but now I don't have to think about it anymore.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to explore every option to make sure this doesn't work, and it doesn't work. Great. Right. No excuses.
Yep. So yeah.
And yes, Gianni, that orange one looks amazing. I so agree. I would love to have this at the hotel that I'm staying at, and I go to get ice and I see these lava lamps in the vending machines and think, yeah, that's gonna look cool in my room.
Nice. Yeah, so I think this is starting to work. Yeah. Sweet.
Yes. All right. So we have about 20 minutes left. So keep going there, Micah. I'm going to put up the brief one more time for chat, and let's fill in one more thing today, and then we will finish building out the brief tomorrow during our show. Again, we're doing the same thing tomorrow, 2:30 to 3:30. We'll continue filling in some of those things. And what I want from you, chat, is I want the demographic that will allow us to kind of think about ideas going into tomorrow, the zone that we want, right? If these are crazy and like zany and out there that we're like trying to hit that like cool TikTok generation, or if this is kind of a refined brand, what kind of target demographic do we want? Put those suggestions in chat, and I'm going to read back through our brief. So Aquafox is launching a new line of merch. They are the leader in the vending machine industry with a cult following. This new line needs to include the color schemes of blue and orange and should be in a flat design style. We want it to feel blank and blank, which we'll fill in tomorrow, while targeting a certain age demographic. That's what I need from you right now, chat. And the merch must feature their signature product, a lava lamp, in at least one application. Also, we would love to see it on a kind of merch, and we want to get crazy with it. So some suggestions coming in. Alexander says, clearly 65 to 85. That's target demo.
They're down with the lava lamps.
Yes. Let's see if we can get it maybe a little bit younger. Oh, Jillian, great suggestion from Jillian. She says elderly hipsters. I thought she meant early hipsters. And I was like, yeah, I like the vibe of like that Mumford & Sons kind of zone, right? That we're like maybe mid-millennial, mid-30s is kind of the zone we want to hit. So let's stay there. I also have misread so many suggestions today and gone with whatever the other idea is. So thank you, chat, for the inspiration on where we land. All right, so we're at the mid 30s is where we're going to stick this.
Mid 30s. Okay.
All right, and I will be updating live the brief on the screenshot so you can see where we land and think of some ideas for tomorrow as we continue through today. Micah, in your brain, do you have somewhere that you want to hit today to go into tomorrow? Certain thing that you want to have done? Idea that you want to start going into? Where's your brain at with knowing that we're going to continue on tomorrow?
I think I want to mock this up really early on some potential like merch options just to see how it might feel.
Cool.
And then go from there. So
sweet. We got about 15 minutes, so we'll continue on trucking. And I love the progression and being able to see the whole progression, right? I always hear designers talk about just make copies of things, and you did a really great job of like, oh, there are literally copies of all of the things.
Yep. And that can probably be a little confusing, just especially coming into a file, like there's a million of these. But again, the artboard technique that I've been using, it helps keep track of it in my brain. So, yes. And right now I just thought about, okay, so I added this like little bit of dimension on the bottom. What would happen if I added some at the top? See how that feels. And I think I'm good. So yeah, so I'm gonna try and mock this up on something. See how that feels.
Yes, and so from here, we are probably gonna move from Illustrator into Photoshop.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. And for those that are watching that maybe aren't familiar, what's the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop, Micah? Why are we switching programs all of a sudden in the middle of our workflow?
So with Illustrator, I can be really, really tight and specific with my vector design, so I'm not losing any quality in any of the work I'm doing. But then with Photoshop, I can really play around with lighting and textures and shadows much better than I can in Illustrator.
Yep, I like to kind of equate it to Illustrator is about interpreting the real world, where Photoshop is about like actually working with the real world stuff. So in Illustrator, you're not going to be really working with a t-shirt. If you're mocking it up, it's kind of going to be flat. It's going to be vector so they can scale infinitely. In Photoshop, you take something that is in the real world, literally just a shirt, and we start mocking it up on there.
Yep. So right now I am just trying to feel how this might be. And so now that I'm kind of getting into the context, like, okay, how would this feel in the real world on different merch? So I'm trying to have different ideas of like, okay, here's our products and here's our color palette.
This almost to me feels like the Guess Who of like finding the personality of your design, right? That you're putting it on something and being, okay, cool. Like, what if it's big? Oh, cool. It feels like a little like boisterous, or like, okay, what if it's really small? Like, oh, it's cute. Of how do you find that personality? And it is just experimenting, trying to figure new stuff out. And what Micah's doing on his screen, I'll show you this so Micah, you can keep working, is Micah is making copies of his artboard, making new artboards. And a lot of times I see people go into menus, try to do in the artboards menu, all of that. But you can actually do this. If you hit Shift-O, that is your artboard tool. An artboard tool you can use to make new artboards, move your artboards around, do all kinds of stuff. And so if you hit Shift-O, you'll see that it makes this line around. I can simply click and drag this just like a shape holding Shift and Alt or Option, and it will make a copy of that artboard. You can set it to include the art as well if you want to copy the art over from that artboard. That is possible. So flip that over. Shift-O is your artboard tool. That's your tip, your learning tip for today. It is a super powerful tool that I feel like people don't use enough. Have as many artboards as you want. They're free.
Super handy.
Yes. Like a subscription model of artboards. You get 20 artboards a month for only $9.99.
So now
Ariana has a great idea for tomorrow. And she wants to do a beanie mock-up. I think that would be super fun. So Ariana, you got it. Chat is in charge of this show, and so we are going to give you a beanie mock-up tomorrow. And we've moved from the lava lamp shape into, where are we going here? This feels like a new exploration.
Yeah, so I'm feeling good about this guy. I'm trying to think about the other mock-ups. So say, got this shirt, I like the way this feels. It's almost like a pocket graphic or something like that, really subtle, but really fun. But also, how can we convey this new product, and thinking about lava lamps, thinking about the bubbles, and also thinking about the polka dot idea, which I think is really good. Wanted to play around with that. How would that like land on something that is like not an illustration? What if it was on a t-shirt? So what would these feel like? Let's see, let's grab these guys. Blue, and let's delete this guy. Ooh.
Yes, and Jessica says the blue one is giving off some soda vibes. Agreed. And I think, right, Micah, we talked about like vibes. I think that there are emotions that carry over from that idea of maybe like a soda fizz and what we want with this lava lamp, right? That there's energy, that it's kind of like zingy. Do you find that that's kind of the zone that you want to be in this part of your process? That it's just like, it's just emotions, it's just vibes that we're trying to capture?
Yeah, totally. So this is just getting, what are some really interesting and fun ways we can get the idea of like a lava lamp across without showing one?
Yes. Ooh, interesting.
And again, so it's, again, for me, it's like, how much can we show without showing?
Yep.
How much can we make people make those connections without being explicit?
Yep. And I love the connection of your process, that we went from, let's translate the real world thing into what it looks like as an illustration, right? That this is the thing. Next, what are the things that would make me think of the thing? How do we abstract this so that we're not just showing the thing, we're implying or giving reference to? In chat, you've heard me talk about it before on this show. Those are called indexes. Indexes give information. I like to think of it as, when you see smoke, you think of a fire. Now we're starting to explore, when you see these shapes, when you see the blobbiness, do you think about a lava lamp? How do we get you to think about a lava lamp without showing you one?
Yes, this is just a rough idea of like, how would this look? And I'm actually going to start undoing some stuff because I like where I was earlier. And I'm going to just copy and paste this over and just see what happens.
Yep. That's sometimes the way to do it is like, yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. I don't know, maybe.
Like, yep,
yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There it is. There, yeah, that feels right.
Yes, it's wrong until suddenly it's right.
Yep. So let's see what this feels like. Cool. So we got that guy there. Let's add this guy. Let's add the smart object.
Ooh.
Same place. So yeah, I kind of like this idea of like, we have this illustration of the product, but then we also can play around with the idea of the lava lamp shapes. What if it was big?
Yeah. What if it was big, and what if this is like a little collaboration in chat. If you have ideas, put them in chat. We've got about 9 minutes to explore this. But what if we did one that was that, and was one of two ideas? One was 2 colors, so that some of the orange ones were in there as well, or do 2 different patterns with those kind of blobs, and then set them on top of each other and multiply, so that it creates like this cool, right, that maybe you silk screen it with 2 different ones so that it creates this cool interaction between the 2. Get that kind of translucency that you'd see in an actual lava lamp, but just like imply that idea.
Yeah. So I think I like where these like additional assets are going to get the product across.
Yes.
So this will kind of be like my base for that idea.
It kind of, and I was trying to figure out like, oh, is it any shapes, or like, is there anything? And this is so random. It kind of reminds me of Rayman, like without the head, like it's the body and the arms and the legs of Rayman.
I'm subconsciously just doodling Rayman.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, chat is saying it could be really cool to see those colors interact on a shirt and multiply. Yes, absolutely. And Laura, a great question that I think goes to you, Micah. Don't lava lamps usually create gradients with their colors? And why are we not doing that? I think this is a stylistic thing. Can you talk about that a little bit of why you're choosing not to do gradients?
That is a really good question. And I was tempted to do that because you're totally right. There are,
And maybe it flips so that it
I,
like looks like it's a different, right?
yeah. I didn't do that just because I wanted to try again. How much information can I not show to get the idea across? So that was one reason I wanted to try without the gradients, but that's also a really cool idea because I think a lot of depth and just dimension could be added with gradients for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And today was all about exploration, getting the vibes right. And tomorrow we may go into gradients. But I love the dynamic that you just talked about that sometimes I think you want to go to object transform.
Yes. What am I doing?
Got it. And so I love the dynamic of we're kind of figuring it out and focusing on what it could be, not necessarily what it should be. And sometimes that's like the most interesting results, is to kind of go through. I think it's object 2 to the left there. Let me turn off the border and see. Sorry, edit, transform. There it is, down there about midway through.
There we go.
Got it.
Look at me. Look at you.
Yeah.
Did it.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Right? It like feels like it has this motion and like blobbiness. I don't know how else I would describe it. It's like blobbiness.
Yeah, and because this is the exact same image, it's just flipped. If we feel like this is going somewhere, we can always go back and edit these and make them unique. So I think this is cool. What's interesting is it's starting to create kind of that other brownish color. It's a little bit more greenish brown here, but it's starting to bring out a similar version to this other color, even though it's a little bit darker up
That's
here.
true.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that.
So as you're building these out, right, we started with illustration, and let's recap a little bit of what we've done today, and then talk about where we're going tomorrow. So we started out, can you zoom out and kind of walk us through your artboards and what your process was to get to where we have this like really cool t-shirt design that reminds us of lava lamps? How did we get there?
For sure. So started out, I always make a list of like, what am I doing? Because I'm going to lose track. So then started to play around with colors just super quickly, just to get a basic idea of what do lava lamps bring to mind. So started playing around with some colors here, landed on a palette that I think was interesting to start off with. And then started moving just to some initial really rough sketching of some ideas of these lava lamps. So started here, was really kind of loosey-goosey, playing around with tilts and shapes and colors based off that palette. And then started to just add in details. So like, okay, I liked where this was going over here. Let's start to add in some extra details, different opacities, different angles. And then from there, started to really refine that idea here. And then once I felt good, I start to kind of expand on like, okay, cool. We've got this illustration, thinking about lava lamps, where else can this go that plays along with that illustration well?
Yep, and it's all of building those steps, and like you said, just editing. Starting with, okay, so the shapes are the most important. Next up, let's start adding on supplemental things, effects. Let's work on lighting. Let's work on opacities. And then you get through that and you're like, cool, all of the technical stuff is done. Let's see if we can abstract it now. Like we have checked off the box of we made the thing. Now let's try to make not the thing. And I love that that's kind of the zone that we're wrapping up today to get into, because it allows us going into tomorrow to be like, cool, who cares about lava lamps? Let's see where else we can push this, because we've kind of checked off the box and now we get to like write in the blank of a new box. Ooh.
Sure, yeah. So I'm gonna mess around with some like different versions of this really quickly and just make some unique ones for each color and see how those feel.
Sweet. And as he works on that, chat, I'm going to recap our brief. We will be coming back to this and filling in the rest tomorrow. But here's what we got. Aquafox is launching a new line of merch. So maybe tomorrow too we can do like just a Aquafox type tee or something. Maybe even doing type overlaid with some of this pattern stuff could be interesting.
Yeah.
So Aquafox is launching a new line of merch. They are the leader in the vending machine illustrator with a cult following. The new line, their color theme of blue and orange, and should be in a flat design style. We want it to feel blank and blank while targeting the elderly hipster audience. I feel like hipsters hipster, so we can make them elderly. I think of like some cool like barber and like the like leather like thing with like he's got the like straight edge razor, like that sound. And the merch must feature the signature product lava lamps in at least one application. Also, we'd love to see it on a beanie, which we'll be doing tomorrow, mocking it up in the real world. So we got pretty far today. We've got about 1 minute left. Micah, any takeaways from where we've landed today, the process? Are we happy with the direction and ready to kind of like push it as far as we can tomorrow?
I think I am good. Yeah, I'm feeling good about where we're landing for today. And now that I kind of feel like I've got like a good vibe of like where this could go, feeling good. Feeling good.
Yeah, and it definitely has new motion and is telling a different story as we see this next to each other. That it's giving that unique and starting to turn into almost a pattern and almost those like brand elements that again are like informing the vibe and feeling of what it's like to experience an Aquafox. Sure. That's it for the show today. Again, you can follow our friend Micah at the links that the mod will drop in chat right now. Just click through, give him a follow, and we'll be back tomorrow at 2:30, again, 2:30 Pacific Standard Time till 3:30, and we'll be putting it on more applications as well as a beanie and filling in the rest of our creative brief that you will give us chat. So tune back in tomorrow. Keep those fingers warm, keep typing, and Micah, any closing thoughts?
Ready for tomorrow.
Let's do it. All right, we'll see you all tomorrow, guys. Bye.
See ya.